The figure moves with purpose, slipping silently through the tall grass. The moonlight casts long shadows as they approach the edge of the forbidden forest. Eyes watch from afar, unseen yet aware. Whispers travel through the trees, a warning carried by the wind, but the figure presses forward, ignoring the weight of the silence that falls around them. Spirits do not forgive easily, the elder says, their voice cracked with age but steady with conviction. This forest is sacred. Step beyond the baobab, and even ancestors cannot shield you. A younger voice cuts through the stillness. Fear has always held us back. Maybe it's time someone dared to find the truth. The elder sighs, shaking their head. Truth found without wisdom is a dangerous thing. Why would they go alone? One voice hisses. They think they're better than the rest of us, another answers. Or maybe they're hiding something. The baobab's wide roots cradle the hushed conversation, heavy with mistrust. If they bring the spirit's wrath upon us, it will be their name that burns first. The figure crouches at the edge of the trees, gripping something small and worn, an amulet passed down through generations. I'll prove them wrong, they mutter. I'll show them that. The spirits aren't to be feared, only understood. With a sharp breath, they step into the forest, leaving caution behind. A clearing opens, and there it stands, a door carved into the trunk of a massive ancient tree. Symbols etched deep into its surface glow faintly in the moonlight. The figure hesitates, then raises a hand. The knock echoes unnaturally, louder than it should, as if the forest itself holds its breath. The knock ripples outward. Leaves shiver on branches despite the still air. From the village, faint sounds rise, a dog barking, a child crying. The elder stirs in their sleep, murmuring prayers into the dark. And from deep within the forest, a sound emerges, a low, guttural growl that sends chills racing down the figure's spine. The door creaks open, revealing nothing but blackness within. Then a flash, a pair of glowing eyes, a sharp gust of wind, and the tree itself seems to groan in anger. The figure stumbles back, heart pounding. "What have I done?" they whisper, as the growl grows louder, closer. Feet rooted to the ground, the figure's mind races. "Run and they'll call me a coward. Stay, and I'll face whatever is coming." A howl tears through the air, and instinct takes over. They turn to flee, but the ground beneath shifts, and they fall to their knees. "Spirits," the figure calls out, voice trembling but defiant. "I didn't come to steal or dishonor. If I've trespassed, I'll make amends. I swear on the blood of my ancestors." The air stills for a moment as if listening. A distant voice whispers back, unintelligible but heavy with intent. At dawn, the village buzzes with uneasy whispers. "Something moved through the forest last night," one says. "The dogs howled for hours," another adds. All eyes turn to the elder, whose face is drawn with worry. "The spirits have been stirred," they say gravely. Pray they are. Merciful. Back at the door, the figure hesitates once more. The eyes have vanished, the growl silenced. Instead, a faint light glimmers from within, beckoning. They step closer, heart thundering, and reach for the edge of the door. Inside, carved into the bark, lies a single word in a language they do not recognize. Fingers trace the edge of a worn talisman, its surface smooth from years of touch. They say the forest will take your soul, but how will we ever know if no one dares? A glance toward the village reveals bustling life, simple and safe. The words are softer now, almost whispered. I want more than this. I need more than this. They came last season, someone murmurs near the village fire, promising gifts, but all they left were empty granaries. Another voice chimes in, lower and full of suspicion. and yet their influence grows. Even now, some among us look to them for leadership. A figure leans in closer, the flames casting sharp shadows across their face. Power corrupts, but no one sees it until it's too late. The elder's voice rises above the rhythmic beat of drums. Long ago, the spirits gifted us this land, but only under one condition: respect their domain. The crowd leans in as the elder pauses, letting the weight of their words settle. If we break this trust, they will come not as protectors, but as destroyers. The drumbeat halts suddenly as someone steps forward, their voice sharp. Perhaps it's time to question these old fears. Maybe the spirits are nothing more than stories to keep us in line. "You've always been by my side," the protagonist says, holding the hand of someone close. "Tell me you still believe in me." The response comes hesitantly, eyes avoiding direct contact. It's not about belief, it's about risk. What you're planning, it could destroy us all. The hand drops, and the distance between them feels greater than ever. "If you won't help me, then stay out of my way." The griot's voice carries through the night, like a wind brushing against leaves. There will come one marked by fire and shadow. Their steps will awaken the spirits, and their choices will shape the land for generations. The protagonist leans closer, heart pounding. "Do you mean me? What am I supposed to do?" The griot's gaze sharpens, and their response is cryptic. The spirits watch closely now. "You must walk your path, but beware." Every step echoes louder than the last. Hands press firmly into the clay, shaping a ceremonial mask. The protagonist's brow furrows as they feel a sudden warmth on their skin. Pulling their sleeve back, they see a faint mark glowing against their arm, unfamiliar and ancient. The elder gasps softly. "It is the mark of those chosen by the spirits. Your journey has already begun, whether you realize it or not." The oracle's voice emerges from behind the veil of smoke. "You seek answers, but you forget the cost of asking." The protagonist steps forward, determined. "I need to know what the spirits want from me." A bony finger points toward them. "A gift must be given and a truth will be revealed. But beware, truths are not always kind, and gifts are not always enough." A traveler leans against the village gate, their face half hidden beneath a weathered hood. "I hear you've stirred the spirits," they say, with a wry smile. "Who are you?" the protagonist demands. "Someone who knows your enemy better than you do," the traveler replies. Their voice drops to a whisper. "And if you want to survive, you'll listen carefully." Arguments ripple through the marketplace, voices raised in anger. "You'd risk our safety for your ambition?" one villager shouts. Another defends the protagonist. "What if they're right? What if the spirits are trying to guide us and we're too afraid to listen?" The elder steps forward, silencing the crowd with a single look. "We are stronger united, but doubt is a poison that spreads quickly. Choose your words and your actions wisely." The village awakens to chaos. "The relic is gone," someone cries, pointing toward the empty altar. The protagonist clenches their fists, stepping forward. "This was no accident. Someone wanted us to lose hope." The elder's voice shakes with fury. "Without it, the spirits will see us as ungrateful. You must find it and return it before it's too late." The protagonist nods, resolve hardening. "I'll bring it back, whatever it takes." "I need your help. Without it, the village is doomed." The elder's gaze sharpens, their voice laced with warning. "Help comes with a price. Are you prepared to pay it?" "I'll do whatever it takes." The elder leans closer, their tone grave. "Then you must bind yourself to the spirits. Once promised, there is no turning back." "You're walking into a trap," the stranger says, their eyes darting to the forest. "How do you know?" "Let's just say I've seen what lies ahead. But if you want to survive, you'll need me." "And what do you gain from helping?" "Me?" A sly smile. "Let's call it Mutual interest. For now. Footsteps crunch against the dry leaves, each sound magnified in the still air. The protagonist hesitates at the edge of the clearing, the symbols carved into the trees glowing faintly. Turn back, a voice whispers, faint but clear. I can't, comes the answer, steady despite the fear. I need to know the truth. The air thickens and the shadows shift, taking form. A figure steps forward, its eyes glowing like embers. Who dares disturb this place? I seek answers. The figure raises a hand, and the ground trembles. Then prove your worth. The protagonist steadies themselves, gripping the talisman tightly. I will not falter. I trusted you. The words echo in the quiet as the protagonist confronts their ally, who stands with their head bowed. I had no choice. They threatened my family. You gave them everything. Do you know what you've done? Tears fall as the ally whispers, I'm sorry, but it's too late to undo it now. The relic gleams in the faint firelight, its intricate carvings seeming to move under the protagonist's gaze. This has been here all along? An elder nods solemnly. But its meaning is not for all to see. The protagonist traces the symbols, their eyes narrowing. Then I'll find the meaning myself. A bundle lies at the village gates, wrapped tightly in cloth. Inside is a charred piece of wood with a single word burned into it. Surrender. They're coming, someone whispers. The protagonist steps forward, fists clenched. Let them come. The rhythmic chanting fills the air as the village gathers for the ceremony. Amid the drums, whispers rise, hints of secrets long buried. I heard they aren't who they claim to be. One voice murmurs. Lies, another replies. The protagonist listens, their hearts sinking as fragments of truth begin to surface. Voices clash in the marketplace, anger and fear mingling in the air. We need to fight. And lose everything? No, we must surrender. The protagonist raises a hand, silencing the crowd. We stand together or we fall apart. The choice is yours. The moon rises, its crimson glow bathing the land in eerie light. Gasps ripple through the crowd as someone whispers, the prophecy. The protagonist steps forward, staring at the sky. Prophecy or not, we decide what happens next. Shouts erupt as figures dart through the night, clutching the relic. The protagonist gives chase, weaving through the forest, the sound of breaking branches all around. Stop! A figure turns, their face hidden, before vanishing into the shadows. The cliff's edge looms as the protagonist corners the betrayer. Why did you do it? For power, for freedom, for myself. The protagonist steps closer. And what has it cost you? The betrayer hesitates, their voice trembling. More than I can bear. Torches flicker in the distance, a sea of light moving steadily toward. The village, they're here, someone whispers. The protagonist grips their talisman, standing firm. Then we meet them head on. The knife glints in the firelight as the protagonist slices their palm, letting the blood fall onto the ground. By this blood I bind myself to this cause. Let the spirits bear witness. A reluctant ally steps forward, repeating the gesture. And I to you. A rustling in the trees, then silence. The protagonist halts, sensing danger. They're waiting for us, someone murmurs. The attack comes suddenly, figures emerging from the darkness. The protagonist fights back, their resolve unshaken. The choice hangs heavy in the air. If I don't, they'll all die. A hand reaches out. There has to be another way. The protagonist shakes their head. This is the only way. They step forward, their expressions set with determination, leaving everything behind. A faint voice whispers through the wind, carrying words only the protagonist can hear. Your path is clear. Walk it boldly. The protagonist bows their head, the weight of the message sinking in. I will not fail. 2 paths lie ahead, each with a cost. The protagonist hesitates, then steps forward. "This is my choice," they say firmly. Behind them the shadows close, leaving the village to watch and wonder. The fire crackles, casting long shadows on the ground. A blade gleams in the protagonist's hand as they whisper, "I've come too far to fail now." Behind them, whispers rise, encouragement from some, doubt from others. The elder steps forward, placing a hand on their shoulder. "Remember, strength comes not from rage, but from purpose." "I know what I must do," comes the reply. The air stills, heavy with the scent of earth and smoke. A soft hum vibrates through the silence, and faint figures appear, wisps of light forming into shapes. "Child of the land," one voice says, clear and commanding. The answer lies not in strength alone, but in the truth you fear to face. "What truth?" the protagonist asks, their voice trembling. The figures dissolve, leaving only a faint echo. "You will know it when the time comes." The antagonist steps forward, their presence commanding. In their hand, the stolen relic pulses with an otherworldly glow. "You think you can stop me with courage alone?" Their voice is cold, mocking. "This ends here," the protagonist says, standing firm. The antagonist raises the relic and the ground beneath trembles. "No, this is where it begins." A sharp cry cuts through the chaos as the protagonist stumbles, clutching their side. They turn to see a familiar face holding a dagger, eyes filled with regret. "You." "I had no choice," the betrayer says, their voice breaking. "They promised to spare my family." The protagonists steadies themselves. "And now they own you." Was it worth it? The sky burns red, the blood moon casting its eerie glow. Shouts and chants fill the air as both sides clash, their weapons glinting in the dim light. The ground shakes with the rhythm of drums, and sparks fly as blades meet. The protagonist charges forward, their voice rising above the chaos. "We fight not for revenge, but for our home." Amid the battle, the protagonist spots the relic, lying unguarded. They seize it, and a surge of energy rushes through their veins. Symbols etched on its surface begin to glow, and a voice whispers in their mind, "Use it wisely." With renewed strength, they raise the relic, and a wave of light radiates outward, forcing their enemies to retreat. A deep rumble grows as the ground cracks, and roots rise from the earth, wrapping around anything in their path. Trees sway violently, their branches lashing out as if alive. Both sides scramble, their fear evident. "The spirits are angry," someone cries. The protagonist grips the relic tightly. "Then we must calm them before it's too late." The antagonist falls to one knee, breathing heavily. "You think you've won, but you don't even know who you are." "What are you talking about? You're not just a child of this village. Your blood ties you to me, to this power." The protagonist's grip falters. "No, you're lying." "Am I?" The antagonist smirks, their voice dripping with malice. "Ask the spirits yourself." The relic hums in the protagonist's hand, its energy building. The antagonist lies defenseless, their face defiant even in defeat. "Do it. End this." The cave. Protagonist hesitates, glancing at the villagers watching with fear and hope. "This isn't about me," they say, lowering the relic. "It's about them, and I won't destroy what I'm meant to protect." Raising the relic high, the protagonist channels its energy into the earth. A beam of light shoots upward, illuminating the blood moon. The ground steadies, the trees calm, and the spirits retreat. The antagonist screams as their stolen power fades, leaving them powerless. "You've doomed us all!" "No!" the protagonist replies, their voice steady. "I've saved what matters most." As the villagers celebrate, the protagonist senses something amiss. In the shadows, the antagonist whispers an incantation, their eyes gleaming with desperation. A sudden explosion rocks the village, and the protagonist turns, eyes wide. "What have you done?" "If I can't have it, no one will," the antagonist replies, their laughter fading into silence. The village lies in ruins, smoke rising against the first light of dawn. Survivors gather, their faces weary but determined. The protagonist kneels, placing the relic back on the altar. "The spirits gave us another chance. Let's not waste it." The elder places a hand on their shoulder. "You've done well, but rebuilding will take more than strength. It will take all of us." The protagonist nods, looking out at the horizon. "Then we start today. The ground is scarred, ash and broken spears scattered across the land." The protagonist steps carefully, their eyes scanning the wreckage. Voices rise in the distance, soft, mournful. A child clutches a shattered doll, and an elder kneels to press their hands against the earth. "We are still here," the protagonist murmurs. "That means we can begin again." The survivors gather in silence, a circle around a small fire. One by one, names are spoken aloud, those who fell, those who sacrificed. A voice breaks the silence. "We fought for them. Their loss will not be in vain." Another voice trembles. "But at what cost? Families divided, homes destroyed." The protagonist steps forward. "We carry their memory with us, and with that memory, we rebuild stronger." Two villagers, once divided, stand opposite each other. One extends a hand, hesitant but firm. "We let fear divide us." The other takes the hand, nodding. "No more. We face the future together." The circle widens as more join hands, their voices rising in a song of unity. The protagonist watches, a faint smile on their lips. A soft wind stirs, carrying the scent of rain. The protagonist lifts their head as a single leaf drifts down, glowing faintly in the sunlight. An elder steps beside them. The spirits are watching. They see your efforts. The protagonist holds the leaf gently. "Then we must show them we are worthy of their trust." The betrayer stands at the edge of the circle, head bowed. "I failed you all," they say, voice shaking. "I don't ask for forgiveness, only to make things right." A heated voice rises. "And how do we trust you after this?" The protagonist raises a hand to calm the crowd. "Trust is earned through action. Let them prove their loyalty, not through words, but by rebuilding what they helped destroy." The relic is placed back on the altar, but its glow is faint now. The elder speaks softly. "Even those with ill intent leave lessons behind. We cannot ignore the cracks in our foundation that allowed this to happen." The protagonist steps forward. "Then we strengthen those cracks, together. We won't let their shadow linger over us." Drums beat steadily, their rhythm grounding the villagers as they gather around the altar. The elder spreads ash over the relic, chanting softly. The protagonist places their hand over it, their voice joining the elders. Light bursts from the relic, spreading warmth across the gathered crowd. A voice rises above the drums. "The spirits are with us again." The wind calms, the trees stand still, and the faint hum of supernatural energy fades. A villager looks to the sky, eyes wide. "Do you feel it?" "Peace," the elder nods. The spirits have retreated, balance has been restored. The protagonist watches the horizon. "Now it's up to us to keep it that way." A quiet voice speaks beside the protagonist. "You could leave, start fresh somewhere far from here." The protagonist shakes their head. "This is my home. It needs healing, and I can't walk away from that." "And if they ask you to lead?" "I'll lead, not because I want to, but because I must." The griot stands before the fire, the village gathered around. Their voice rises strong and steady. This tale is not just of war, but of courage, of choices made and lives changed. May we tell it to our children, so they too remember the cost of forgetting the Spirit's will. The villagers nod in agreement, their voices joining in a chant of remembrance. The protagonist kneels by the altar, the faint glow of the relic casting soft light. "Thank you," they whisper, their eyes closed, "for your guidance, for your forgiveness." A gentle wind brushes their face, as if in response. They rise, resolve shining in their eyes. "I'll honor this gift." Children laugh as they chase each other through the fields. Villagers hammer wood and weave straw, rebuilding their homes with steady hands. The elder stands with the protagonist, their faces bright with hope. "We have a long way to go," the elder says. The protagonist smiles faintly. Every step forward is a victory. The sun rises higher, bathing the village in golden light, as the sound of unity and laughter fills the air. The fire crackles softly as the protagonist sits in silence, their gaze fixed on the ground. "Every decision led us here," they murmur, the weight of their words hanging in the air. "Some choices saved us, others cost us dearly, but each one taught me who I am and who I must become." A gentle breeze stirs the stillness, rustling the leaves overhead. The protagonist closes their eyes, the wind brushing against their skin like a soft touch. A faint voice seems to whisper, not in words but in feeling, approval, peace. The protagonist smiles faintly. They are watching. They see us. The protagonist stands at the edge of the village, staring at the forest border. "The line between peace and chaos is so thin," they say quietly. "We thought we could control the spirits, bend their will, but they reminded us, they are not ours to command." They turn away, a look of understanding in their eyes. Villagers gather in the square, hands clasped as they share stories of survival. Laughter breaks through the heaviness, and a child reaches out to share a piece of bread. The protagonist watches, their voice soft but certain. "We only overcame this because we stood together. Alone, we would have fallen." The elder approaches with an old staff, its carvings worn but still vivid. They hold it out to the protagonist, their voice steady. "This staff carries the wisdom of our ancestors. It is a reminder that the past guides us, even as we step into the unknown." The protagonist accepts it, bowing their head. "I will honor their wisdom." The betrayer sits apart, their head lowered in shame. A villager speaks up, their voice filled with anger. "Your greed nearly destroyed us all." The protagonist steps forward, raising a hand. "They have paid a price. Let their story remind us all. The betrayal comes at a cost no one should bear. May ambition never blind us to loyalty again." The protagonist gazes at the altar, their reflection shimmering faintly on the relic's surface. "One day, I'll be gone. What will remain?" Their voice softens. "Not power, not wealth. Only the story of what I did and why I did it. Let it be a story worth telling. New shoots sprout from the earth where the battle once raged. A child plants a seed, their small hands patting the soil with care. The protagonist watches, a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Even in destruction, life finds a way. This is how we move forward, one seed at a time. The griot's voice carries through the night, the villagers seated in a wide circle. This tale is not just ours. It belongs to the future, to those who will come after us. They must know what was lost and what was saved. The villagers nod, their voices joining in a song of remembrance. The sun rises slowly, its light spilling over the village. The protagonist stands with the elder, their faces calm. "This dawn feels different," the elder says. "It feels like a promise," the protagonist replies. "A reminder to be grateful for what we have, and for the chance to begin again." A soft voice echoes in the protagonist's mind, carried by the wind. respect the land, honor the spirits, cherish each other. The protagonist bows their head. We will not forget. As the village comes to life around them, the protagonist smiles. This is what they ask of us, and this is what we will give.